Hi, this is Emily Iannelli of T-Girl Angel, and I just wanted to do a video about my own personal feelings about transitioning and certain things that a lot of transgender girls consider in their own personal transition. I have had the pleasure of meeting several transgender girls here on Facebook and in some social circles through support group. And I have had a lot of questions that have been going through my own mind about my own personal journey towards becoming a transgender woman. I guess the label will always be there. I can't change that. I would like to say a woman, but the reality is I'll always be identified as a transgender woman, so I don't regret that. I don't deny that. And I certainly don't deny my male past. Actually, I'm proud to say that I have a male past, that I'm a father, and I have a beautiful son that I adore, who I adore. So I have no regrets. I do admit that it was very difficult for me growing up, being transgender. I didn't know the word at the time, but I knew I was different. And I actually identified as transsexual. I knew that since the age of 13, when I started reading about some famous transsexuals. One notable one was Dr. Renee Richards, who was fairly well known in the professional ranks of tennis as Richard Raskin, and he came out as transgender and had full transition, including surgery, and then identified herself as Renee Richards, and she was a very prominent, I believe she's still in practice, eye surgeon, but I identified in many ways to her story, as well as Diane Cossey, who was a fashion model, Tula. I read her story as well. She also had full transition and surgery. So I always equated being transsexual and also desiring surgery from the age of 13. But I grew up in a different time, a different generation, so I couldn't be true to how I felt. I always dressed in girl clothes throughout my teenage years and my young adult years, but I hid it. I hid it in my dress by wearing the girl clothes underneath my boy clothes and my men's business suits when I went to work. And when I was in college, I wore girl clothes underneath my boy clothes. I was very shy growing up. I didn't have many friends. I focused a lot on my studies and also in sports. That was my way of dealing with my gender struggle. I didn't know any other way to come out. I didn't know how to deal with it. I didn't see anybody professionally, didn't go to a therapist, didn't talk to anyone. I didn't tell my parents, nor my two sisters. I just kept it bottled up inside of me, kept it a secret, hoping that it would go away, along with the cross-dressing. I was cross-dressing my whole life, basically. I went on purges where I would take all my clothes, my girl clothes, and put them in plastic lawn bags when I was older, obviously, and put them in the trunk of my car, and hoping never to, but eventually going to the drop-off box where I would drop them into the bin and farewell clothes, girl clothes. But that wasn't the right thing to do. Eventually I would go out and just buy more girl clothes. So it kind of got a little bit ridiculous after a while, because I was only spending lots of money. But, you know, at least the clothes went to good cause. But I always knew inside that I was different. I couldn't really express it to people. I didn't know how to be honest with you. So I like to have friends who identify the way I do. I like to associate with people I can talk to and express how I feel, and I think that's a good thing. I'm finally going for therapy. I've been going for therapy now on and off for many years in aftermath of tragedy and in dealing with my gender struggles. Therapy is important. I think it's helpful. In fact, you need to go for therapy if you want to pursue transition in the way of hormones, hormone replacement therapy. You won't be allowed to do hormone replacement therapy without approval from a therapist, generally speaking. So it's very important that you stick to the regimen, and there are strict standards in the transition process from male to female and female to male. And the pioneer who was very involved in transgender issues was Dr. Harry Benjamin. So I learned a lot about him also, in reaching out and trying to find information. I was able to come across him in my learnings of what transsexualism was all about. And I don't know for sure, but I think he had a lot to do with the original studies of transsexualism. And, he was very highly regarded in his field. But he formulated standards that you have to follow in transitioning. First, you have to meet the requirements to be formally approved to be put on hormone replacement therapy. Then you have to live full-time in the role of the gender you identify as. That is opposite to your born sex. And you have to have therapy and approval from doctors stating that you're a candidate for surgery. Things have changed a little bit today where you don't necessarily have to do surgery to be considered the gender that you identify. That's not always the case, but I believe in the United States, in most states, not all states, but I believe in most states, you can have your gender marker changed and the legal name changed as long as you get the letters stating your gender dysphoria. To get the gender marker changed, you do not, in New York State, you do not have to have surgery. So I identify as a female, so in theory, as long as I get the letters stating my gender dysphoria, and I go for the legal name change, I can have my gender markers changed on my documents, like my driver's license, my birth certificate, my passport, and all that stuff. So that's something that I've been thinking about doing the legal name change and the gender marker change. But I'm also somewhat confused because I have a son who I'm concerned for, and I don't know how that would all play out with him. So I'm on the fence about these issues right now, and certainly surgery, which is something that I really wanted to do, and I still do, in fact, want to have surgery. But I don't see it happening right now. I don't see it happening anytime soon, if at all. But I would certainly welcome the opportunity to have surgery. I just don't have the financial resources to do the surgery. And like I said, my son is a big issue. Not an issue. My son is my main concern in how everything would play out with him, you know. I don't know if he could handle it. So I don't want to do something that would be very difficult for him to cope with. It's all something that I have to figure out as time goes by. But I do talk to a lot of transgender girls, and a lot of them want to have surgery. And in fact, I know some who already have had their surgery, and they seem to be happier as time goes on. It's not an easy thing initially. I know they have to get adjusted. I know there's certain things they need to do. I don't want to go into that, but transgender girls know what I'm talking about. Pre-op and post-op, mainly post-op. I don't know because I'm not post-op, I'm pre-op. Pre-op and post-op simply mean pre-op, you're pre the operation for the surgery for male to female transition, and post-op is your post-surgery for male to female transition. So a pre-op still has male genitalia, and a male to female transgender post-op is now consistent to a female in genitalia body-wise. I don't know if I'll ever get there, but I'm living as a female, and that to me is the main thing. I love you guys.